Hello and welcome to another video from EarnPed.com. I'm StevieB. Happy to have you all with us today. Today we are going to talk about some aspects of the game we normally do not get to talk about too often. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and things that could potentially be done to solve it. Things that may very well be a pipe dream, but ideas that I've had that maybe we can get some support behind. So normally on this channel, as most of you are aware, we look at the actual game itself, the programming behind the game, the mechanics, how the items interact, the loot pool, the algorithm, how we can manipulate these things to our advantage, ways we can use the way the game is programmed to play smarter, not harder. However, there are other aspects to the game which we also need to take into consideration, and that brings us hopefully to a more philosophical point of view before this is all over. You guys will see where I'm going with this momentarily. So one of the things that Entropia has beyond just the programming is the social aspect, the fact that we can interact with one another, we can send each other private messages and emails, we can create societies and chat channels, and it's a very socially centered game. At the heart of it is a real cash economy. In order to have a real cash economy, you have to have a society. One person a real cash economy does not make. It takes two or more peoples in order to gather resources and specialties and services and then swap, whether it's bartering or paying with some kind of a currency, right? So that being said, that's where I want to focus today, as well as some of the things that can cause that can be problematic and ways that we could possibly fix it. There's a lot of real world that's going to spill over into this, so hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get right into it. So first of all, let me preface this by saying that in the United States, in whatever state you live in, there is a very good chance I am not a member of your local bar association, so nothing in this video is to be taken as legal advice. This is more or less for informational purposes only, and for educational purposes only, I guess. Whatever all the legal disclaimers are that I should throw out there, that I'm not an attorney, nor do I represent you in your home state. Go with those, okay? So that being said, there's a couple of finer points here in the United States that I would like to point out because A, they will be relevant, and B, they can be kind of comical. So when you're talking about assault and battery, people use this term as if it is one term. Assault and battery, one action. It is two different actions. There's an assault, there is a battery. You can have an assault without a battery. You cannot have a battery without having an assault first. So an assault is where I take a swing at you and I stop 3 inches from your face, but you think I'm going to hit you. That's an assault. The battery part comes in when I actually connect and land the punch. That physical connection, that landing of the punch, that is the battery. So you can assault somebody without battering them, but you cannot batter somebody without assaulting. Words can also be an assault. Now let's take that concept and let's apply it to something that gets thrown around in game a lot. Slander. There is a difference in slander and libel. These are two very different things that are very, very highly correlated, almost perfectly correlated. Slander is when I say something about somebody that is not true. Libel is when I write it down. So if I write an article in Newsweek that says a whole bunch of things that aren't true about somebody, that is libel. If I say those things on radio or live TV, that is slander. Do you see the difference between these two things? Now I can do both. I can write it in Newsweek and then I can read the Newsweek article live on the air, and then I've done both. So there's a huge, huge difference between these two, and whenever people run around saying that somebody slandered somebody else, the first thing I look at is, did they actually say it, or was it just typed/written? Was it like via private message or in-game mail, or was it actually physically spoken? Because there is a distinct difference. And funny side note, in the United States, everybody knows about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Well, freedom of speech does not just mean you can say whatever you want, whenever you want, about whoever you want. That is why we have freedom of speech, but we also have the rules on slander. Freedom of speech generally has to do with political/religious speech, not necessarily any and all speech. So there is a lot of limitations on the First Amendment. There is, however, one place in the United States where you can say absolutely anything about anybody, no matter what it is, and get away with it. and that is the floor of Congress. So if you are a sitting Congress member and you have the floor, you can say whatever you want. You can go, your mom's a fat cow, and point to another Congress member. They can't do anything about it. And this has actually led to some very funny and comical moments where actually a couple of fistfights have broke out. There was one in the 1800s where a senator attacked another senator with a cane for something he said, broke his cane, and then people started sending him canes. So the reason I say that is we have a game that is very social, that revolves around a real-world economy, or real cash economy, I should say, that does not have an in-game legal system. And I think this is something that is desperately, desperately needed, not just for the social aspect of it, but also for things that happen in-game. Like if you were to give somebody an uncollateralized trade for a high-value item, and then they run off with the item, sell it to somebody else who sells it to somebody else, and you're just out all the money and the item, the closest thing we have is a support case asking MindArk to intervene. However, in a lot of these cases, MindArk either cannot intervene, will not intervene, generally speaking, or would be harming themselves should such a legal system be put in place. So example, if there was such a legal system in this game, it would have to be done by an independent third-party company, almost like an independent financial audit, because MindArk would also have to be held responsible. So if we had a system like that in place, whenever they pulled the rug out from underneath us with Summer Mayhem being canceled, MindArk would have been liable for every pill that was bought in anticipation of Summer Mayhem, every armor plate, every weapon, every deposit that was given to them in anticipation of that event, and then canceling it the last minute like that without any regard for anything any of us had done to prepare, when they could have given us a formal announcement in several weeks, if not months, worth of prep time. So that's one reason I don't think we will ever get an in-game legal system, no matter how desperately we need it. Now, that being said, let's circle back to the social aspect. I am probably the authority, if not leading authority, on people in-game who get trolled and called every name under the sun. I've had people troll me, I've had them call me every name under the sun, I've been accused of everything under the sun, and I've even had them take it so far as to try and put my personal information out there as if it's something I try and hide. I understand that virtually everybody in this game hides behind an avatar. I do not, I never have, I never will. My name is Corey Chappelle, I live in Oklahoma City. If there's something you want to know, just ask. I'm very easy to get a hold of. In fact, if you guys go to the Facebook pages for Entropia Universe and Entropia Universe Freedom for All, you will see that virtually all the members of both of those pages have actually made Facebook accounts for their in-game avatars. That way you know who's who. I am one of the only people on both of those pages that uses my real Facebook with my real name and my real picture. And this has been done to a great extent where I could hold somebody legally responsible. I've had information put out there about my personal life. I've had information put out there that was just blatantly false and made up. I've had information put out there where people actually went through the trouble to Photoshop things to then put out there to try and make me look bad. I've actually gone as far as to contact the FBI about that, actually, at one point. So, needless to say, was any action taken? No, for numerous reasons. It was something that I just decided wasn't that big of a deal in my life, but it did reach that level. So, as somebody who's actually had to go to law enforcement at the federal level and get the FBI involved because of the trolling, I get it. It happens. And, again, I think a lot of that could be dealt with an in-game legal system, which we are never likely to get. So, that being said, one of the biggest problems I have always had with the social aspect of this game is when people call things a scam. Because my first question in response to it's a scam is, what is the scam? Now, I am a huge history buff. I'm a huge fan of history, and especially history related to finance in any way. So, I mean, that's kind of the coin collector in me, the coin dealer in me from back in the day. I just love history and anything history finance related right up my alley. So if you explain something to me, even if you think it's a scam, I'm automatically going to be looking for what is wrong with this picture. And I'm probably going to know the entire history of how it all came to be, going back, hundreds of years, blah, 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 blah. And what I find is when people in-game say something is a scam or somebody is scamming them, generally when I say what is the scam, 99 times out of 100 they cannot tell me. If they can tell me, the thing they articulate to me is not a scam at all. It is called a free market. So example, most of you know that Mystery Snow stands at Twin Peaks. I don't think he's ever moved from Twin Peaks by the balcony. And he's a trader. He's a full-time trader. And all he does is spam Cali Trade and local chat, buying and selling ores in matters, pills, that kind of thing, like traders do. And I had a player message me, and he was like, yeah, Mystery Snow's scamming me. So really, what's going on? Well, he doesn't want to pay me a high enough price for my stuff. You hear the crickets? Yeah, me too. I said, okay, I shouldn't have to explain this to a full-grown adult. That is not a scam. That is called a free market. That is called capitalism. Mystery Snow is free to pay whatever price he is comfortable paying for something. And if you would like to sell him your goods and services at that price, you are free to do so. However, if you feel that his price is too low, you are also free not to sell to him and to try and find another way to either get rid of your goods and services or to just keep them for yourself. So you may choose instead to put something on auction and take the chance that you're paying that auction fee and the item may not sell after all. You may decide to just keep the items entirely, or you may decide to put in a lot of time and effort and to try and sell them at a higher price to a different person. However, the one thing you are not free to do is to tell Mystery Snow what he is going to pay for your items. That is in no way acceptable. You are no more entitled to tell him what he's going to pay than he is entitled to tell you what you're going to sell for. Okay, that's just how it works. So to call that a scam, blatantly no. Now, on the other hand, I had a friend several years ago. This was a guy I went to high school with, and he was never the smartest guy in high school. He wasn't totally stupid, he just wasn't bright. And he came to me one day and he was like, bro, I got into Bitcoin and I've got hooked up with this company and they're making me and my bros like money hand over fist and we're making like 200% a day. And I just stopped down the tracks and I was like, skirt, it's a Ponzi scheme. No, bro, it's totally legit. No, it's a Ponzi scheme. No. Okay, let me explain the one and only thing in the entire world that can consistently pay you a 200% return day after day, a Ponzi scheme. In the entire world of finance, in the entire world of free markets, that's the only thing. Day in, day out, day after day. I'm not talking about one day. I'm talking about day after day after day after day into perpetuality. The only thing that can do that is a Ponzi scheme. There is nothing else. No, bro, I'm telling you, it's totally legit. It's called BitConnect. You totally got to get into this and check out BitConnect. There was even a video of a guy on YouTube going, BitConnect! Guess what? Year later. News headline. BitConnect found to be giant Ponzi scheme. No way. Because it was so freakishly obvious anybody with a half a brain and more than 2 seconds of experience in the world in finance would have known that. Now, as I told him, he said, well, what's the problem as long as I'm making money? And this is where the problem comes in. If you don't understand what you're dealing with, and this is why information is always good to have, if you're in a Ponzi scheme and you're an early investor, do you know what happens when it all comes crashing down? There's a rule called clawback. So clawback says that if you were an initial investor in a Ponzi scheme and you actually profited from the Ponzi scheme unknowingly, even though you thought it was a legitimate investment, whoever takes over the bankruptcy or the trust to deal with the assets and the victims of the Ponzi scheme, they can come get the money back from you. So if you had invested $100,000 with Bernie Madoff early on, and you ended up getting back your initial $100,000 plus $10 million more, you might have spent that $10 million on a house, a Lamborghini, a couple of boats, maybe some bad investments that lost some money. But needless to say, you don't just have it sitting in a bank account 30 years later. Well, guess what? 30 years later, when the Ponzi scheme comes tumbling down, that trustee, that attorney in charge of trying to make those victims whole is going to come to you and say, hey, you wrongfully profited $10 million from this. We need that money back. Well, I don't have it. I spent it. Well, that's not our problem. We need that money back. Well, I bought a house. Good. Put a mortgage on it. We need that money back. It doesn't belong to you. So, yes, there is a danger to ignorance. There is a danger to getting involved with actual scams and not knowing what you're dealing with. A huge danger, not just of losing money, but even if you were able to profit from them, you're probably not legally entitled to it. So the reason I say all that is generally when I talk to people in game and they say something about a scam and I ask about the scam, they can't tell me what the scam was. And if they can articulate something, it's usually not a scam and I have to explain it to them. And I don't throw the word troll around lightly. If I am going to put out a troll edition video, it's going to be a troll edition video. A troll takes it a step further, will refuse to tell me any information at all. I don't get a who, what, when, where, why, or how. I don't get any of those. That's what I need. What, where, when, who, why, how. I need those pieces of information. Because without that, all you have is an accusation. And then typically the troll will actually degenerate into, well, you're an idiot or you're a liar. Speaking about me. And again, all I want is the what, when, where, who, how, why. That's all I need. So this is a problem universally in-game. It pops its ugly head up often. And unfortunately, a version of these events popped their head up recently with a very good friend of mine. Somebody that I would actually consider pretty close. And I'm not going to name any names in this video. I know he's going to be mad at me for not naming names. I know there's people that are going to be happy that I'm not naming names. It's going to be a little bit both. But I am trying to get the best information out there, not just for them, but for the entire community here. So essentially what happened was somebody that I know asked another player to provide a service of some sort. That player politely declined. And this made the person I know very upset. Now, at that point right there, I do have to say that right then, right there, the person should have logged off the game and walked away. Taken at least 20 to 30 minutes and just gone and done something else. The reason being is when you get upset, it takes at least 20 minutes for the chemicals in your brain to reset. At least. So usually 30 minutes is better. And this person had multiple options. They could have called me. They could have called other friends. We could have talked about it, found out a way to deal with it. Instead, they did the opposite, which I get it. It's a very human reaction. They were very upset. It was a very emotional moment. And they just kind of blew a gasket. And they did it fairly publicly. A lot of people were involved. And it just probably wasn't the best move, either in-game or in life. But I wanted to try and help everybody. And when I originally shot this video, I really had the anticipation that I was going to be able to resolve it in a way of winner-loser. However, that is not how it turned out. Sometimes when you're dealing with social interactions, you don't get winner-loser. You don't get right-wrong. Sometimes you get right-right. Sometimes you get wrong-wrong. Sometimes you get wrong-right. Sometimes you get right-wrong. So you get a combination of things. And the position I find myself in today is one where I really just want to focus more on how we can avoid situations happening in the future. Because we don't have a legal system. It is the Wild West of just police the social interactions yourself. So first of all, let me say this. Just as Mystery Snow has every right to decide what he's willing to pay for an item and not pay a penny more, and as a seller, you don't have the right to tell him what he's going to pay. If there is a service provided in-game, doesn't matter what the service is, the service provider sets the rates and has every proclivity to not provide you that service. They are under no responsibility to provide you a service. So if I'm a healer for hire, for instance, let's say I'm a healer for hire, and I want to charge 50 pet an hour. Fine. But just because I'm a healer for hire and charge 50 pet an hour doesn't mean I'm willing to do nothing but be a healer for hire. You might need a healer for hire and I might be off planet hunting something. That doesn't mean I'm just going to run back to you because you want me to heal you and pay me for it. Nor do I have to, nor do I have any responsibility to do so. Just because I'm a healer for hire and I charge 50 pet an hour, you might be willing to pay me 200 pet an hour. But if I don't like you, guess what? I'm just not going to heal you. And guess how many reasons I have to give you for not liking you? Zero. Not one. I don't have to call you a scammer. I don't have to say you ever did anything wrong. I don't have to say anything at all. The reasons I have to give you is absolutely zero. Because I said so. Because I'm the one offering the healing service, and I choose no. And for whatever reason, this is exactly what happened to my friend. Is there was somebody providing a service, and he wanted to pay for that service, and they said, we just choose no. No reason needed. Just we choose no. And I get it. I would probably feel a little bit insulted too. I'd probably be a little bit upset also. That doesn't necessarily make blowing all the gaskets and turning it into a volcano of an eruption a good thing, nor a great idea. But, and again, I wish there'd just been a log off and a phone call made and some time taken. That's not what happened. So, when I originally shot this video, I really thought I was going to be able to come to somebody's defense. The only defense I can really come to is the defense of the person who said, you know, I would just prefer not to provide you a service. Because this is a free market economy game. And just as Mystery Snow cannot be forced to buy something from me at a certain price, I cannot force anybody to provide me a service they do not want to provide me. Whether because they don't like me or they feel I wronged them in some way, whatever. And it would be very irresponsible for me to suggest that that's something we should do in game. Now, the reason I say we need some sort of a legal system is, let's say that the reason that person decided to say, no, I'm not going to provide you a service, is because information they got from a different source led them to believe that they shouldn't provide you with that service. And let's say that information was incorrect. That person should be held responsible. That person should be called out. However, in this case, I can't do that. Because the person who denied the service told me directly, I denied the service of my own free will, not based off information I got from other people, off my personal experience, my personal preferences. So there's really nobody else to pin it on. So that being said, I do believe that one of the things we should always do in this game is give everybody a fair shake. Everybody across the board a fair shake. And the more information, the better. A lot of people seem to have this misconception, both in-game and in life, that if you have a problem and you ignore it, it will go away. And what I can tell you from experience is that is the absolute incorrect path to take. If you have a problem, you want to nip it right then, right there in the bud. You want to get right to the root of the problem as soon as you possibly can. If you do that, usually the problems will indeed be taken care of and go away and you can move on. However, ignoring the problems, hoping they will go away, is wishful thinking that can take something small and turn it into Mount Kilimanjaro that can sink Atlantis. So I originally sent somebody a private message, and I was trying to get more information, giving them the fair shake to say what their problem was, what their issue was with somebody. And the response I got back was, no thank you, please don't put me on YouTube. Okay, well, you can ask me all day long to not put you on YouTube. I sent you the private message, you responded. So if you didn't want what you said going on YouTube for the entire community to see, then you shouldn't have responded to the private message knowing I'm going to be putting it on YouTube. Just as I have no right to tell Mystery Snow what he's going to pay for my items, just as I have no right to tell somebody what services they're going to provide me, you have no right to tell me what I am and am not going to put on YouTube. Sorry, doesn't work that way. Now, that said, if you have an issue with somebody, and that issue is they have harmed somebody somehow, I would think that if I am giving you the opportunity to have a public platform to reach a large portion of the community, where I'm saying, hey, this is your opportunity. If this person did something, give me the why, when, where, who, how. Put it out there for everybody to see, because this is something the entire community would be concerned about. If there's really truly an issue there, you should probably do that and get the entire community behind you, because we don't have a legal system. The best thing that we've got, the closest thing we've got, is just getting the community behind you. And That is one of the reasons I love YouTube. It's one of the reasons I love all the StevieBs out there. If MindArk does something we don't approve of, we can group together, become one voice, and we can stand up and say, no, this is not acceptable. Just like we did with Summer Mayhem being pulled out from under us, just like we did with migration, not having any boxes and being a ped drain, just like we've been doing with the shared loot events. We can do that. We can bind together. We don't necessarily need a legal system, even though it would be super, super helpful, as long as we can be a cohesive community. But if you're given that opportunity, if I give you that opportunity to say, let the entire community know so we can get behind you and tackle this together, and you say, pass, there's not much I can do. Now, luckily, almost immediately, I was contacted by another player. And that player was able to give me the information that I was hoping the first person would give me. And I don't think the first person was being a troll. I don't think they were lying. I don't think they were trying to hide behind anything. I think they were doing what most people do, stick your head in the sand and hope the problem just goes away. In reality, I can tell you from experience, it doesn't work. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and doesn't go away. The second person gave me all the information I needed. The second person is the one that said, I just straight decided I didn't want to be a healer for hire that day. I just straight decided I didn't want to provide DPS services to somebody else that was hunting. I just decided that I didn't want to provide services to this particular person who was hunting or who needed a healer for hire. So the blame should fall squarely on me. I don't see why it became a bigger deal or went past that. That was the information I needed from the first person. Even though they were giving me a lot of the same responses that I would expect from a troll, it was like they were holding something back. Well, they were holding it back because they hoped it would just go away. But again, that's why if I give you the fair shake, take it. If I give you the fair shake and say, hey, I heard you have an issue, let me get it out there for everybody to see and get the community behind you, you have zero right to tell me not to put it out there. You have zero right to control what content I do and don't put out there. Zipola. None. Nada. However, if it will help your cause, by all means, take it. And I've said this about people in the past. I've said, hey, there's somebody that, they have this event going on. If they'll get with me and give me the information on the event, I'm happy to put it out there for the community. So, that being said, I know you guys have no idea what the situation was. It's not important what the situation was. The big takeaways I want you guys to get from this is a couple of really, really underlying facts when it comes to the often overlooked social aspect of the game. And that is that we do not have an in-game legal system as much as I wish we did, as much as I wish we could hold MindArk accountable for the things that they do, as well as the players accountable for the things that they do. I really wish we could do that. We can't. So for now, and for the foreseeable future, the best we're going to get is binding together as a community. Point number 2, in binding together as a community and coming together, if there's information, why, what, where, when, who, how, that needs to get out there, and somebody like me or like a Bonnie or like a Serial Overdrive gives you the opportunity to get that information out there, get the information out there. Don't stick your head in the sand and think it's going to go away. Get the information out there, because the support of the community matters. And it might not matter today, it might not make a difference today in the situation, but what if it did 6 months down the road, 12 months down the road? So when you're given that opportunity at that fair shake, by all means, take it. Number 3, keep in mind that with this real cash economy game that we have, having social interaction, having a community, having more than one human being behind the avatar, there are some limitations that come with that. Just because you have money you're willing to spend doesn't mean a service provider has to provide you the service. Just because you have money to spend doesn't mean that the person selling the item has to sell it to you at that price. Guess what? I can charge 2 different prices to 2 different people for the same thing. There might be one person I'm willing to let buy something for 10,000 ped. There might be another person, exact same item, I won't sell it to him for less than 20,000 ped. Why is the price double? Because I don't have to offer the same price to everybody. So, that being the case, try and take a moment and put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Would you want somebody else being able to tell you what to do simply because you offer a good or a service? Would you want them to be able to tell you the prices you're going to charge or the things you're going to do and at what price? No. And just as they have no right to tell you that, nor do you have a right to tell them that. And then one of the biggest points I want everybody to take away, number 4, remember that behind each avatar is a real person. And that real people have real emotions. And when those emotions get agitated, it takes a solid 20 plus minutes for the chemicals in your brain to reset. If you need to, log off. The game is going to be here in 20 minutes. The game is going to be here tomorrow. The game is going to be here next week. It's not going anywhere. It's been here for almost 20 years now. If you find yourself in a situation where you're getting upset or you feel you're being treated unfairly, log off. Go outside. Take a breather. Go for a walk around the block. Let those chemicals in your brain reset. Call a friend. Text a friend. After your brain's reset, tell them the issue. Get their input on it. See if they can help. See if they can find a way to help resolve it. And this particular issue, had that been done, there was a very easy way to resolve the issue. But because the game wasn't logged off, the chemicals in the brain weren't reset, and friends weren't called, gaskets blew, things were said, situation got worse, almost past the point of no return and not being able to be fixed at all. Now, I know this video isn't going to make some of the people involved happy. It might not make any of the people involved 100% happy. But I'm not here to make the people that were involved in this incident happy. I'm here to try and give you guys tips that you can do in the future to avoid bad outcomes when you're dealing with the social aspect of the game. When you're dealing with the fact that you're interacting with other humans, so that maybe if you have a situation, it will be a small deal and not a big deal. And one of the biggest things I want to remind everybody is, especially in this game, with the kind of crowd that this game draws, if somebody accuses somebody of being a scammer, or wronging somebody, or doing anything that is socially unacceptable, my very first question is, what, where, when, why, who, how? Those are the pieces of information I want you to give me. Do not just give me, it's a scam. Do not just give me, this person is a bad person. Give me the what, where, when, why, who, how. June 30th, 2019, Camp Icarus, player A's name, player B's name. A gave B a weapon. B did not collateralize it. B then sold it to C, who sold it to D, who sold it to E. B then withdrew all the PED, closed his account, and cashed out. Okay. Congratulations. You just gave me the what, where, when, why, who, how. But if you can't do that, don't throw words like scam around easily. Those words have definitions. They have meanings. They have repercussions. Think about what you're doing. Think about what you're saying. And this is a conversation I feel like I should be having with a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds, not with fully grown adults capable of entering into marriage and buying houses and cars and having 40-hour workweek jobs and planning for retirement. The fact that that is the demographic of the people who see my videos generally scares the living bahoo-ha out of me. Because what is there that's going on in the real world around you in your daily life that you don't understand? If you don't understand that I can't make Mystery Snow pay a higher price because I want more money for my loot, or I can't make somebody be a healer for hire just because they offered it to somebody else at a certain price, what is going on in your daily life that you're missing that is far more important than a video game? So I know, like I said, this video isn't going to resolve anything when it comes to the people who were involved in this particular incident. I know it's not going to make any of the people involved in that incident 100% happy. But at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about realizing that it's more than just a programmed code that lets us loot stuff from creatures using certain weapons, or pull mining ores and end matters out of the ground, or a written code that allows us to craft things. If you want to play a game that has nothing but programming in it, I recommend Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Entertainment System. There is zero social aspect. You cannot get online and, talk to other players in a multiplayer format. You would have to go out of your way to either stream it or record videos for YouTube. So if it's just you in the game, Super Mario Brothers is definitely your game. Also, highly recommend Duck Hunt. These two games used to come together. Very, very great combination. Love that combination. Turns out you can actually play as the duck. All you have to do is plug in Controller 2. It took like 20 years to figure that out. True story. Plug in Controller 2 on Duck Hunt, and you can control the duck. Try it. But if you're going to play an MMO, if you're going to play a real cash economy game, if you're going to play a game that requires you to interact with other people, keep all of these things in mind. And remember the human side of it, the emotional side of it. It can go from an anthill to a volcano very, very quickly. And that's essentially what happened. And when that happens, sometimes it just can't be fixed. So I really hope that this will help you guys in the future, should you all have issues, even if it doesn't resolve the issues that happened recently between a very, very small group of people. But I hope that, in large, this information is very, very helpful to the community, especially in a time of need. Because generally, when you're in the heat of the moment, you're not thinking back in the most rational way to a YouTube video you saw 6 months ago. But maybe 6 months from now, there will be somebody that has a social interaction issue that does take a moment to step back and think about this video. And maybe it'll help just a hair. So if we accomplish that today, then we've accomplished a lot. So I'm going to leave it right there for everybody at earnped.com. Sip, sip, smack, smack. You all know the rest. Hit the little bell icon to subscribe, the like button if you would, because there's always one of those humans behind those avatars that hates me sitting out there hitting that dislike button. So every like does matter. We really, really appreciate it. Also remember that we're going to give everybody a fair shot. That's just how we are. Everybody gets a fair shake around here. Then we'll go from there. And head over to earnped.com, because when you earn, we earn. We've got a lot more great videos coming up for you. And when you guys choose to use earnped.com, that is one of the ways we're able to continue making these videos. That is one of the things that helps support us in all of these endeavors. We know we weren't the first, nor are we the only website that lets you earn Ped. However, by choosing to support us, it really goes a long way in helping us with all of our other endeavors in-game and through various media. So thank you guys for that. We've got a lot more content coming up for you this week, especially one you guys are going to want to see probably shortly after this video about how 50% can cost you a lot more than 50%. Keep an eye out for that one, and we'll just keep on rolling. Take care, Stevies.